Hi, I'm Paul Bloyd, Vice President of Accurate Comics Online, with Louis Shosty, President of Accurate Comics Online. We're at Comic Palooza in Houston, Texas. We're here to do our first update video for our Kickstarter campaign, and we're going to talk about the character Hawkfire. So, Louis, you created it in a writing Hawkfire, so why don't you just tell us a little bit about who he is and where he came from?
Well, he really started off, he was the first character I ever created for this. Actually, before I even knew I ever wanted to do comic books. I created him when I was 11 years old. Basically, the idea was I wanted to create a teenage superhero and tell stories just really for me, because I had terrible insomnia when I was a kid. And I would sit around and just, at night when I'm laying there awake and I can't sleep, I would tell stories to myself about this guy to help me go to sleep. You know, the way some people count sheep, I had Hawkfire blast people with a laser. The character is probably different from most superheroes in that he is, rather than have an overt power like energy blast or super strength or whatever, I always thought that that superhuman intelligence would be really the coolest power to have, because if you can build all sorts of devices, you can mimic any power you want.
No, he is. As soon as we launch, he's going to be in 2 of our titles. In our, he's going to have his own title, of course, but then he's also going to have a storyline in our anthology series, Infinite Tales. So, start off, tell us about the Infinite Tales story.
You know, as I told stories to myself as a kid, his costume changed quite a bit and his name changed quite a bit, because as I got older, I wanted to keep trying to make him cooler and cooler, you know, in my mind. The first one was WizKid. Most of the devices that he creates for this persona are non-violent. It's things like he uses a slingshot that fires spheres filled with glue, and he uses a rocket-powered skateboard. The second one is the Weaponist, and yes, I understand that's a terrible name. The way the story goes is Hawkfire, or WizKid at the time, was he was a leader of a group called the Lone Wolves. One of the members of his group was a ninja character, and she got horribly injured in an explosion. And out of a feeling of guilt, WizKid changes his identity to the Weaponist and becomes sort of a cyborg-type ninja character for a little while, at least until she got back into the group later on. The third is a character named Arsenal, and Arsenal was kind of like the peak of me wanting to be cool, so I sat there and thought about a cool name for weeks and weeks and weeks until finally I came up with that. And little did I know there'd be like 3 or 4 Arsenals appear in comic books within a couple of years. And this character is basically the high-tech weapon. Everything he owns is a weapon. Everything blows up or shoots people or whatever. And eventually, finally, we come to Hawkfire. Hawkfire was more of a scientific adventurer type. As he comes out of retirement, his most recent technology was designed in the early 1990s. So it's bulkier. There's no miniaturization, hardly. Some of it's faulty. So it adds a sense of danger now. And this character, you know, with any of our characters on Accurate, anybody can die at any time. So there's definitely a sense that this guy could get his butt kicked pretty hard before he has a chance to start arming himself again.
Now, we do have an artist attached to that. We're kind of excited to announce that for the first time here today. So tell us who's doing the art chores on these 2 storylines.
Well, for Infinite Tales, we have Michael Powell. Actually, he's a Texas artist, and he's got a classic superhero style to him that I really find appealing. For the regular series, and I'm going to slaughter this gentleman's name.
European artist.
Yeah, he's a European artist from Spain. His name, I want to say it's Ibai Canales.
Sorry.
Yeah, we apologize.
Sorry if we completely ruined your name.
I'm sorry, Mr.
We're from
Canales.
Texas,
yes.
You have to understand.
The Infinite Tales story arc is actually going to follow Hawkfire through his career. It's going to be little snapshots taken throughout his career. So the first chapter is going to be him as WizKid. The second will be as the Weaponist. The third one will be Arsenal. The fourth will be him at the end of his career as Hawkfire. And then the fifth one is actually going to tie into the regular series. Now the regular series picks up roughly 20 years after Hawkfire retired. He's living in Alaska in a very small town called Port's Head. I made it up, so don't look it up on the map. And he's distanced himself from everything. He's distanced himself from his family, and he's isolated himself really from everybody. Part of his past comes back to get him. And it doesn't come back in the way that he thinks one would think it was going to happen.
Okay, now if you like Hawkfire, of course you'll have to wait for the actual series to come out in a few months after we launch. But in the meantime, when you go to our Kickstarter page and you decide that you're going to back us, which we're assuming you're all going to do, there are several Hawkfire related prizes that you can claim for backing. So why don't you give us a rundown of a few of those?
Yeah, we have the first issue, the first script autographed for Hawkfire #1 by me. We also have the Infinite Tales script autographed by myself and Paul and another writer, a good friend of mine, KG Maccabee. She's going to do an Airborne Ace story for us in Infinite Tales. The other thing, do we have anything else?
We have the wallpaper on the lowest level.
Yeah.
With Lady One Shot and Hawkfire together in front of this, I believe, in front of the base of the Statue of Liberty.
Right. Yeah. And I believe Robert Summers is going to do that for us.
And speaking of Robert, one of the other prizes you can claim is he will do personal sketches of any characters of ours that you request.
That's really good.
Yeah, I mean, there's pieces of Hawkfire attached on a lot of the other levels, but that's the main ones. If you want some Hawkfire, come back us. You can get some Hawkfire, and come back in a few months, and you'll get to read the real thing.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Talk to you guys later.